Hello and welcome guys to my channel. Today, in the heat of all the E3 fuss with the Nintendo E3, and we've already had the Microsoft, Sony, and Bethesda, and Ubisoft, and really just all the big companies have pretty much talked. We still have more E3, but basically I wanted to stop and discuss something that's been on my mind and on my heart, and I've given it time and I've even typed it out. So normally I do not go into too much detail when I make videos covering details like this and concerns. Usually I just allow myself to speak my mind and then edit out anything that's irrational. But today I decided to write a script. So today we are going to discuss the problem I see with Fallout 76. And the thing is I will also release a video discussing what I like about Fallout 76, and I want to say the fact that I love Fallout 76 so much before I've gotten to play it because of the setting, when it takes place, and everything going on in the game. That is why I have such a problem with this one specific issue. Now, the problem I see with Fallout 76, I think is no surprise to anyone, is that it is an always online game, or as Todd Howard stated, entirely online. So to many people, this isn't a problem. So I want to be clear when I say this. Todd Howard made it very clear that this is entirely online.
Fallout 76 is entirely online.
This means it doesn't work without online. There are still many questions that are not answered. For example, does this require PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live to play if you were to play it in the single player mode? Since it sounds like you need to connect to a server regardless, even if you do decide to play by yourself. How would VATS work? Also, there's no way VATS are even in it. That would break the online mode. The fact that online is not optional prevents the existence of VATS, and that really worries me, making it even more like a straight first-person shooter because of that, and less like an RPG, which is why I love the Fallout games. The RPG setting is very thought-provoking, and strategy is needed to get through this game. And it seems like you will still have strategy, but it's going to be more along the lines of a fast-paced strategy and more of a co-op. This video will not be totally pessimistic and upsetting, but it will definitely be as honest as I've ever been, and I will say exactly why I am worried. But first I want to make something clear. My pessimism, concern, and worry in this video are from a love of Fallout. My concern is from a love of the rich story, lore, and interaction you have with the world. While I personally don't think this game will lack any of the things I love about Fallout, I do worry about how we will potentially experience those parts of the game. Also, I will reiterate, as I have before on streams, that I was right when I said that this is absolutely not Fallout 5, and that it only makes sense to me that a Fallout 5 will be coming further down the road from BGS. Now, this may be after the Elder Scrolls 6, which I feel is probably a 2024 title, 2025, but I do feel like after Starfield is released, because of the increase in the size of the studio they're using, they will probably switch over and start developing the next Fallout game after Starfield is released. But I do not expect to see Starfield until 2021, maybe 2020, but it's going to be after the PlayStation 5 and Xbox 2 or whatever they call it. I truly believe that Fallout 5 will be a single-player offline game. I do not think that Bethesda is making all the games online after this. The Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be offline. They're not going to do this to us for every game. This is a side game, and that's why it's not Fallout 5. That's why it's Fallout 76. So my pessimism here isn't without hope for the series moving forward. Let's begin with a little insight into the biggest problem with the news. Okay, so he says that Fallout 76 is entirely online.
Is entirely online.
What this means is that even though you can play the game by yourself,
Of course you can play this solo.
we cannot play without being connected to an online server. At least it seems that way. I cannot think of a game that is entirely online that allows you to play a single-player game offline. So when you have internet issues and you get kicked from the internet, it doesn't immediately kick you out of the game, preventing you from playing the game, even if you are playing the game by yourself. This is one of the biggest problems with this type of game development. First, we will discuss the short-term problems with this. Being connected to an online server all the time seems trivial and not a big deal to a lot of people. And even though a lot of people also know that this is a big deal, I see many brushing over hard facts. Internet is still not that great, and with the absence of net neutrality, we already have ISPs that are throttling homes around the country. Okay, so maybe you live in an area that has AT&T, Comcast, and Charter. Great, that means you have 3 companies competing for your money. This means you are likely to get a deal and have good service at the same time. Ever wonder why price is hidden until you put in your zip code when pricing internet? It's because when you live in an area with multiple ISPs, they lower the price to compete. When there are only one ISP, they raise the price. And when they are the monopoly, you will see your internet being throttled. This is exactly the situation I am in. The service I pay for is 50 down, 10 up. We get 20 down and 6 up if we are even lucky. We rarely get that. Oftentimes, the internet drops to a blazing fast 2 megabits down and 0 up, and even completely cuts altogether. Maybe this is poor infrastructure and not purposeful throttling, but paying as much as we do and never getting the service we are promised is never a good thing. It makes me question exactly why they won't fix the network infrastructure. But then again, who are we going to go to? Stop yelling outside my door! There are no other options. And there's no law protecting us anymore, so even if we were to try to report it to the right people, it would be ignored because legally they can do as they like with the internet. So let's see how the internet is in the United States, since this is where I live. Well, after going through Google and looking up many resources that I do trust, it appears to me that only about 1 in 3 homes in the United States have access to one of the 3 major ISPs, with most others only having their pick from 2, meaning only about a third of the country has a choice of 3 or more internet service providers. Also, on top of this, most of the internet service providers in the country operate off of coax and old telephone wiring. And let's just say this is not stable enough to keep a solid connection, and I may make a video at a later date. I'll discuss this with several of my friends who also know how the internet works to try to simplify it. I may make a video on how the internet actually works and why we tend to have problems around the country. But very rare do you see Comcast, Time Warner Cable, and Verizon all trying to get your service, and often third parties you find are owned by one of the 3, or they are licensing their internet from one of them, which makes it very hard for you to find good competition. Therefore, you're paying more for less. And these companies that are not the big 3 are not going to want to install fiber optic or anything better than coax if they have the monopoly in the area. Now, this might seem like a whole lot of education for a Bethesda video about why I'm worried about Fallout 76, but this is really easy to understand, and it's very common information. It's common knowledge. So I find it very worrying that Bethesda didn't notice this. Now, I want to ask Todd Howard and everyone at Bethesda Game Studios a very simple question. I know you said it is online entirely. Did you misspeak? Because if you misspoke and you really meant that the game can be online entirely, that's a little different. I want to know, will I be able to play this game offline? Because if I'm not able to, that's going to be a big problem because of the way the internet infrastructure is. DLC is so slow that anyone who is watching this right now on DSL is probably only being able to watch at 240p without pausing and waiting for it to buffer, and likely getting buffers if they are trying to watch it all at once. Now we dropped a little knowledge on you. You can see how often the internet can fail. We have an oligarchy of 3 companies who don't see each other as competition and also refuse to upgrade the wiring for the internet service they provide. Yes, it is expensive, but fiber optic has been run through most of the country, with the last mile, as we call it, being the connection to you, the consumer, from the ISP being ran on old coax wiring or worse. This material has hit its maximum and severely hurts the fiber optic ran elsewhere from performing well. Simply, it won't matter how good Bethesda infrastructure is. If your ISP's connection fails at any moment, then the game will go offline. And it's here we ask questions. Since even a single player game requires you to connect to a server, any fluctuations to the internet that drops you below the required speed will kick you from the game. I'm sure many of you know this from matches on Fortnite or Call of Duty, but imagine this on a massive game like Fallout, where you spend hours upon hours on the game just to be kicked. Also, this feels less like an RPG, as I can't see VATS being used in it at all. I know I've already said this, but this is a very big deal to me. The poses in the game are cringy. They break the immersion and look straight out of Fortnite. I'm glad that it doesn't look like they're going to do the Fortnite thing where you have 100 people trying to kill each other, but it's actually not too far away from that kind of game, honestly. What they showed with the nuke, although it looked interesting, that's really used to try to demolish your opponent. And it's nice that it creates a whole new wasteland for you to discover. You go through the waste of everything you just blown up, but it really hurts me inside because it feels like this is going to be something that could just happen to you. You could just be playing and you get a nuke dropped on you at any time, or you get killed or sniped by somebody out of nowhere. And this is not the way that you want to play your single player game, by having a nuke dropped on you. It's a little different when you have NPCs shooting at you. Sure, you can have online characters, other people online shooting at you, but when you're having nukes dropped on you, that doesn't seem fair at all. I'm really excited to see what they can tell us about this. But yeah, this doesn't feel like an RPG. The whole presentation gave me a bad feeling. I remained silent. I thought very hard on this. Chances are, if I'm going to play this like I planned, then I will be fighting my really poor internet. There is no choice in the matter. I must deal. Also, another very big problem with online only. And I'm not sure how many people have mentioned this, but I will go ahead and say it. Fallout 3 came out in 2008. You can play it to this day. Fallout came out in 1997. Fallout 2 came out in 1998. You can play all of these games to this day. No internet required. Just have to work with either compatibility issues, and there's always patches. Now, here's the real question. How likely is it that 76 will have servers for more than 10 years? And even if they do, the servers will go down eventually. We will still be able to play 3-4 New Vegas and experience all their lore, while Fallout 76 will vanish. I find it short-sighted. Are Bethesda going to patch it when the servers go offline to allow offline single player? If so, why won't they allow it now? I mean, unless Todd Howard unknowingly lied to us, and then it will be an entirely online game. That means even the single player, you will always find yourself running across other players. You may even be attacked or killed by others, even while you play on your own. True, it may be an experience we must experience for ourselves to understand how they will make it work, but so far I have lost most of my interest in Fallout 76. However, Bethesda has announced amazing single player games coming soon, and with that said, we end on a very positive note. This game actually does hold my interest. I don't know how much lore will be in it. I'm hoping that it has a thick amount of lore, and I'm excited to play. I have so many questions. Is Bethesda going to be the one company that talks Sony into allowing crossplay? Because I do not own a PS4, although all my friends do. And I'm telling you, I really do want to try the multiplayer on this, but I'm not going to have anyone to play with because I don't have anyone with a Xbox One as a friend. All my friends have PS4s and our PC. And I want to know, can I play this with my friend Josh on his PS4? Will Bethesda be the ones who finally talk Sony into allowing crossplay? I think if any company can, it would be Bethesda, but Sony are at the top, and they may just say no, even to Bethesda. Thank you for hearing my criticisms. I do think the game will be good, and I hope my internet will hold well enough. But I am not getting good vibes from this, and I'm not going to get my hopes up for failure. So remember at the beginning of the video where I said I wrote out a script for this? Well, I read the entire script, but I added in a lot of stuff because there was so much more I wanted to say when I recorded this. So only about half of what was spoken was written down. I want to thank all of you for joining. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you disagree with things I've said, tell me what you disagree with. Tell me if you're excited for Fallout 76. Tell me what you expect for the future of Fallout. And just communicate with me on the comment section, guys. Also, I stream live on both Twitch and YouTube, and I do not have a set schedule, but if you subscribe to my channel and hit that bell, you will be notified when I go live. YouTube has done pretty good in the past few days at notifying when people go live. It may still prove to be an issue in the future, but as long as that bell is checked, you should see when I go live. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Welcome to the nest. Next time, we're going to talk about why I'm excited for Fallout 76. And like I said, I may even make a video on how the internet works. And we will cover the E3 in more depth with Nintendo, Xbox, the rest of the Bethesda showing, Ubisoft, and the Sony conferences. And me and my buds at the Nest will all cover this, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and stay nerdy. Houdini out.